Imagine it's Christmas Eve, 1945. Snow falls quietly over a small town in West Virginia. Inside one home, the Sodder family has just finished celebrating. 10 children tucked into bed, parents exhausted but happy. It should have been a night of peace, but by dawn their home was reduced to ash. 5 of the Sodder children vanished without a trace. No bodies, no bones. Nothing. This is the story of the Sodder children, one of the most chilling and unsolved mysteries in American history. George and Jennie Sodder lived in Fayetteville, West Virginia. George, an Italian immigrant, built a good life, running a trucking company. Together, he and Jennie raised 10 children, a large, loving family. On Christmas Eve, December 24th, 1945, the Sodders gathered in their 2-story wooden home. They opened gifts, sang songs, and shared laughter deep into the night. Around 10 p.m., Jennie told her younger children it was time for bed, but 5 of them begged to stay up and play with their new toys. Jennie agreed, reminding them to turn off the lights before bed. Just after midnight, Jennie awoke to a strange phone call. A woman's voice asked for someone Jennie didn't know. In the background, she heard clinking glasses, laughter, and other voices. When she told the caller they had the wrong number, the woman laughed oddly before hanging up. As Jennie walked back to bed, she noticed something unusual. The lights were still on, and the curtains open, things her children never forgot to do. She turned them off, pulled the curtains closed, and returned upstairs. Half an hour later, Jennie was startled awake again, this time by a loud noise, a heavy, dull thump on the roof, followed by a rolling sound. Minutes later, the smell of smoke filled the house. The Sodder home was on fire. Flames tore through the walls with terrifying speed. Jennie screamed for her husband. George grabbed his older children and rushed them outside. But 5 children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jennie, and Betty, were trapped upstairs. George tried everything to save them. He sprinted to grab the family ladder, always kept propped against the house, but the ladder was gone. Vanished. In desperation, he ran to his trucks parked nearby, planning to drive one close and climb onto the roof. But when he turned the keys, nothing. Neither truck would start. Both had worked perfectly the day before. Meanwhile, Jennie tried calling the fire department, but the phone line was dead. Later, investigators would discover the line had been deliberately cut. Neighbors rushed to help, but there was nothing they could do. The house collapsed in less than 45 minutes, reduced to a heap of smoldering wood and ash. George and Jennie were devastated. 5 of their children were gone, but when dawn came, things didn't add up. The fire department arrived the next morning. They sifted through the ashes for hours, and yet they found no remains, no bones, no teeth, nothing. Experts later testified that even in the most intense house fires, human bones don't simply vanish. At least fragments should have been there. But the Sodder site was empty. The coroner quickly declared the children dead, victims of the blaze. Death certificates were issued within days, but George and Jennie didn't believe it. Too many things were wrong. The missing ladder, the sabotaged trucks, the cut phone line, and then came the witnesses. A bus driver passing through town claimed he saw people throwing balls of fire onto the Sodder property that night. A woman who had been at a nearby motel said she saw the children peering out of a passing car as the fire raged. Another witness reported seeing them weeks later at a diner with 2 adults who wouldn't allow them to speak. Months later, while tending her garden, Jennie found a strange rubber object in the yard. Investigators later concluded it was a type of incendiary device. Could this have been the thump she heard on the roof before the fire? Piece by piece, George and Jennie became convinced. Their children hadn't died in that fire. They had been kidnapped. Who would kidnap 5 children in the middle of the night and cover it up with fire? One theory pointed to George's outspoken views. He had criticized Mussolini publicly, angering members of the local Italian community. Could the disappearance have been a mafia warning, with the children taken as leverage? Another theory claimed the children were trafficked, possibly raised under new identities far away. And then came the most haunting clue of all. In 1967, over 20 years after the fire, Jennie received an envelope in the mail. Inside was a photograph of a young man, about in his 20s. On the back was a handwritten note. Louis Sodder. I love Brother Frankie. Lil Boys. A 90132 or 35. The face in the photo resembled her missing son, Louis. George and Jennie hired private detectives, but the lead went cold. The man was never identified. The Sodders never gave up. They spent their lives chasing leads, traveling across the country, following every rumor. To keep the story alive, they erected a massive billboard along Route 16. On it, the faces of their 5 missing children, staring back at every driver who passed. The sign stayed up for decades, haunting Fayetteville, a constant reminder of the mystery that refused to die. George Sodder died in 1969, Jennie in 1989. Neither ever found out what happened to their children. Today, the case remains unsolved. Were the children killed in the fire, their bodies somehow consumed, or were they kidnapped, forced into lives far from home, their family left in torment? To this day, no one knows. The Sodder children mystery remains one of America's greatest unsolved crimes, a story of fire, suspicion, and a family that never stopped searching for the truth. And maybe, somewhere out there, someone still knows what really happened that night.